Check on the war report, check on the stores report, check on the kids and shit. Hope everything's alright all night. Cause all day popping the mix, I might pop rock stars, pop up on your strip. Free pop out hits, get paid for my thoughts, and that's all. Right, and my label the shit. And you hating the clip. Baby, don't you cry.
I made coffee as well. I had water going before the stream even started up. That might help with the volume a little bit too. Alright, let's get this going over here, and you should have motion. Noise. Yeah. I've always really liked this channel because it's like a lot of it really is just kind of like various flavors of lo-fi or like stuff like that, but it's like done in a kind of way where it's like more interesting. There's texture to it. I'm glad you can appreciate that vibe. It's a hard one for me to bring up. Why is that? Part of it is similar to reasons of like, I don't know if I want to stereotype it, so I'm gonna say that it's like this. In my head, I get afraid that I'm like jumping from like cringe to cringe to cringe to cringe to cringe in a way where it's like maybe not cool. Right? But I keep having fun with it. And so it's just kind of like it ends up becoming like my dirty little secret a lot of the time. I'm very deeply guarded about a lot of things, actually. You wouldn't really be surprised to hear that I was like one of those kinds of like teenagers that was very shrouded in irony. And all of it's because of that kind of a thing. But cringe to who? It's kind of like just, I don't know, it's like being haunted by your past. Wait, I'll say that, you'll say, God, what a mood. But like, I'd always say the same thing to you because, well, what a mood. I'm vibing. I think in that situation, if I'm not confident in it, first of all, I gotta recognize the situation earlier if I was going to want to do this. But ideally, if I can only get one of them safely, I should like commit to getting the 1B safely, and not try to greed out the 2x multiplier. Because that would have at least gotten me an extra one up there. I'll get it like post boss anyways, but like, you know, what if I was at 17 instead of 19 mil? You just said he was an 09er. Fuck!
Basketball.
Sometimes I get tempted to just lump myself in with the 09ers. Because I think about the distinctions of it, right? And it's like, back then we gave a shit about that. Because so many people throw, like, a lot of shade at them as a group, basically, right? And you just kind of didn't want to be in, like, the out group again. But the further away I get from it, the more ridiculous it is. It's like, you know, when you start playing, right? It'd be a lot quicker to get it like what I was around if I said I was like an 09er, but I played these things, right? Then it would be to say like, well, I predate the 09ers, but only by a couple years, and technically you gotta look at this and that quirk and whatever. It's so goofy. Like, who cares? To them, they're just saying like, gotcha, 09er in their head and moving on to the next one. Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like I share a lot more of their struggles even, right? So it's just like, I'm like, you know, not an 09er on the date stamp, but... You know, I'll even put it like this, right? There is something besides Street Fighter, I feel that made Street Fighter 4 a success. I feel like there was like, it comes and goes kind of as like a phenomena, you know what I mean? The time was right for fighting games. I just like caught on to it in my ways, which means I was going to get into it a little earlier, and I was gonna get into some weird niche corner of it, right? But like, a lot of people are gonna come into contact with fighting games around that point in time. It's just where things were gonna go, you know, it was the age of fighting games.
Jawbreaker form, Joe Frazier arms, haymakers for I buy the farm. I might read forest, I see the green and reach for it. A book in the ashtray, I'm burning through the leaves. It's metaphor, fires, it's hard to body me. It's Brooklyn born, not foreign. Archaeology for those who dig it post-mortem. A focus sagging and posters, that to our city of wolf groups. Before the actors in your group, that to our city of wolf groups. A chill stick and a fruit juice, that to our city of wolf groups.
I almost forgot about that one. I would have felt so bad. Alright. Yeah. So like, I think if I drop it, if I don't like have the hyper before there, and I can't even like begin to like attempt continuing the chain, I'm just gonna like fucking mash shot through the rest of the stage basically. Right? I will light chain. Well, ooh. Sometimes I'm not that great on cleanly keeping on down as an input. I find myself sliding down into diagonals a lot.
Instead of acting free, grabbing tree switches, atrazine, and them apple seeds, Jack and bean stalks. I'd rather talk, maybe Jack or beans, but never rocking out they need. And it's fashionably to be acting like a fiend, and not the one from microphone Raheem. So rest in peace to Radio Raheem.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the 09ers, like, I guess when you talk about them like derogatorily, it was just more of the people that like only came into contact with it for that brief window of time, had big opinions and ideas on it with no knowledge, right? Of it, and we're like trying to like dictate a lot of things about like what the scene should or shouldn't be. That's probably like what people were more getting at. I wasn't any of those things. I was just a teenager being too hard on myself. Yeah, definitely same. I've only been able to like articulate as much as I have because of like a lot of other people explaining shit to me and like opening up doors for me to like make these connections. So like even anything that like I've helped you learn or stuff like that is like that. Oh, that was so close for no reason. Oh, I love this backbeat. This one comes up every now and then. I first heard it on an Atmospheric Airlines album by De La?
When you gotta be, and leaders out the store, I'm proceeding, hitting the saxophone.
They're doing this sample well. Nice. Such a fucking sick sample. I get fucking chills when you see like audio just get cut out like that. Woo. Very nice. It's weird how it's always the trend chasers that are the biggest control freaks. Yeah, that's true. No, it's because those are the ones that are always like dictating a dialogue in the first place, right? I'm including esports orgs as trend chasers, yeah. Frequency of sessions in the Dark Ages was abysmal. Just straight up. If we had meetups as often as we were able to just have casual lobbies nowadays, all of the time, right? Like, think about it this way. I run a lobby weekly in Strive, right? Which is basically like me going out to weeklies, in a sense. We get some new people coming in, we get some people that you know, you're working on certain matchups steadily, you get exposed to novelty at a trickles pace, right? And like, ideally, you're in a place where there's strong locals and you've got like a lot of strong players there that you have to compete against a lot of the time, right? I have my own locals for Strive in that way. And so if I go to another lobby night or something like that somewhere else, right? That's basically going to 2 locals a week. We would have killed for that as kids. You were lucky to get out to something once a month. Unless you like lived in a city. Because for me it was like I had to like convince my parents back then into saying like, hey, let me go into Baltimore. Everything's gonna be cool. Trust me. No one's gonna steal their car. My parents were a little racist. My mom grew up in Baltimore and it was like informed from that too, which was like kind of whack, but whatever. On for it. Wow! Where did that come from? Bah. Well, most want our kids back, but operators across the country are just not up for the task. Yeah, because like there's just so much that goes into that, right? If you have like even like, you know, more than 7 groups wanting to like handle like having people come in to like do shit, right? You've got to like have space and accommodate that, and then you got to be able to deal with like regular folk coming in, and it's a big old fucking mess. You were lucky to get things organized to have like dedicated meetups once a week. And some of the folks that really thrive back then were just able to just keep on going over and over and over again. And that doesn't even like get into the whole like class aspect of it too, in terms of like who could even like afford to play. Yeah, exactly. We were like casual level players because of the level of like frequency that we played. But we had pretty deep knowledge pools sometimes, but only about really specific things a lot of the times. It wasn't like comprehensive. It was like we all just tried to knowledge check each other. And we were just like trying to find the most amount of ways to do that possible. So it was like asshole kind of deep. It was the worst kind of deep. Nothing wrong with a knowledge check, mind you. Just you get what I'm saying. Yeah, like it hits different as a strategy when like no one had the means of being able to uncover it easily, versus nowadays where like folk will actually like develop countermeasures, or like sometimes they're nice and even tell you like what to do because they just want to like play at deeper RPS in other spots. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm so glad I was like missing a lot of those zeitgeists, to be honest with you. Like I definitely button mashed when I'd play like Tekken and stuff like that, but like, you know, everyone does that the first time I play a fighting game. Sometimes I feel like a default action for people when they don't know anything about how to play something. It's not like every player does this, right? But you could say that an archetype of player is the kind that just kind of like presses shit and does shit in order to figure things out. They just throw things at a wall until they figure out something that works. Good enough. Happy feet. Wombo combo. What do they mean by that? Yeah, definitely, Ashley. Whoa! Those screen clears can bite you in the ass sometimes. Next slice. Yeah, the player base was spread so thin. Like, there was only so much you could do about that. So I think I wonder then, like, what's that idyllic arcade that people would talk about, right? The idyllic arcade could have only ever existed online for something like this. That or we'd all have like trains figured out worldwide or some shit, you know, like haha. But even then, I feel like online would be easier. I just want better trains, damn it. I want to be able to take a train to visit you. And not have it cost like $200 fucking dollars or whatever. There it is. No, that's actually a thing with it, Ashley. And the other thing too is that even with online, they had better access to practice with that too, because they would always basically have 1 frame of delay. So like at all points in time, like the way that fighting games were developed was like favoring Eastern players. And then like fuck, even like in Street Fighter 4, I think it was like Japan had like decisive like early release periods in comparison to like the West. And then like 5, it was like still there, but it was only like a couple of weeks or something like that. Like there's all sorts of like absurdities like that. So I don't want to say geography doesn't play into it, but like I just want to put it in the context that it's a piece of a puzzle. because like you could argue opposite, right? Like you could say the distance in America made it so that people had to study more thoroughly for matchups in Super Smash Brothers Melee or something like that, because we'd end up beating Japan in that way there too, right? The urbanization of it doesn't really help with them like playing the game there in that way. It's just a problem of how many people really wanted to play, basically. How many people wanted to play and how many people could access said thing at the same time. This. That's where we need to make sure we're sleeping a little more right, because that one plane will come in and then kind of like keep going left a little ways, and then sometimes if we get stuck in that like channel, we need to like hyper or bomb. Alright. Woo! I got lucky there. I'm not fucking playing with that. Yeah, exactly. So like anyone that pines for that is usually like they were living in one of those cities and they like that's all they're thinking about is like their own experience with it. They aren't thinking about the Midwesterners or the people in like the really small like towns or cities or the people that lived out in the fucking woods. Like how the fuck were they supposed to show up to the arcade every day to practice Street Fighter 2? Huh? And people have the gall to go and say it's like strictly about effort. Yeah, exactly. Wait, there's a little heart like emoji thing that like blocks your text on this side. I wish I could just move that. I don't want to like 100 or heart. I want to read all of what my girlfriend is posting YouTube. No, sometimes you just got unlucky. Whew. Yeah, you definitely just have people that just like kind of get unlucky at times. That was me with a lot of games, so it's kind of interesting too because like I didn't really get to start connecting with these games in the way that like a lot of these kids are like playing them nowadays when they're like, you know, online, right? I didn't really get to have any contact with that until I was in college. Right? And that's when I started doing everything. And it's just like, had I been doing that with all my free time before, fuck, it would be night and day. When I think about the amount of work it took me to like get to where I was in StarCraft and like how much I still have to go here in order to be able to like do that again, it's like jaw-dropping actually. Oh cool, that's a nice variant pattern. Aw, onlookers. What? I was like feathering the left input, but I didn't depress it. Well, okay. Fucking, this is scarier than any horror game sometimes, I swear to God. When I think about the more I come to think of the so-called Golden Age, there's really only Golden Age, and you think of it in terms of games released in metrics and stuff. Yeah, especially if you think about like also like just growth or like adoption rates or like a lot of like modern ideas on like how we think about like UI and stuff like that are born from lessons that came from like stuff from that era, right? Some people kind of like that old era just because there's more jank. They like the experiments. But then they never go on itch.io either. There's plenty of experiments out there if you go looking for it. Plenty of creative folk on the internet. It's wonderful. Daigo's idol, I forget his name, described Street Fighter 2 era as the Stone Age in terms of players. I agree. I don't know if I go that far. I'd reserve that for the 8-bit era instead. Stone Age as far as like the modern conception of a fighting game. Because I think it's fair to kind of point to Super Turbo as being like the first one that really nailed like... Or just Street Fighter 2 in general as being like the game that kind of nailed that first, you know? Oop. Well, like, not just like what a fighting game is, but like, you know, like the standards or like expectations on controls or things like that. A lot of stuff like kind of got templated out in that kind of a way, right? Like, when was the first quarter circle input, for example? Were there quarter circle inputs in Street Fighter 1? Street Fighter 1 had all sorts of goofy shit, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so like I like to think of it as like the first like fighting game that's like modernish enough where like if you throw a modern day playing like fighting game player at it, they can pick up on it without you having to explain almost anything. Right? Instead you're usually just kind of explaining the fucked up shit that's going on instead, so that they didn't like skip ahead in layers and learning and stuff like that. But that's like a much different conversation to have, you know what I mean? Yeah. They were secret and they didn't move lists in the cabs, so like you weren't like normally gonna run into people that knew anything about that shit. So like, I don't know, I think it's fair to say that it's Stone Age because like there's a lot of subtleties to like how people end up handling inputs or stuff like that, or like think about move interactions or etc., right? And like saying that, like they were in the Stone Age back then, like yeah, yeah. Like Stone Age implies civilization. Maybe the people that were like pre that were like pre-civ. But yeah, it's ridiculous because like you'll look at like top 8s on tournaments nowadays and like the influx of players that are like new, that are like just like pushing like games in all sorts of directions, and like the way that like vets are like holding on to and stuff. There's so many interesting storylines and so many communities, and it's really like fun to see that develop. And the skill level in these has never been higher. On average, like, if I were, like, telling me back in time half of the shit I knew now, or, like, some of the things I was able to do, they'd be flipping out. Like dating a cutie like you. Haha, got her. So if I slowly sleep to the left, there's 2... There's 3 planes there. Big one and then 2 little things afterwards. Whoop. Run for it.
dopest female that you've heard thus far. And I do get better, the voice gets wetter, nobody gets hurt.
As long as you let her.
Do my thing with an 89 swing. The dopeness I write, I guarantee delight. Until the hip hop maniac, the uptown brainiac, in full effect, MC Life is back. And better than before, as if that was possible. My competition, you'll find them in the hospital. Visiting time, I think it's on a Sunday. But notice, they only get one day to shine. The rest of the week is mine. And I'll blind you with the signs that the others have yet to find. So come along and I'll lead you the right way. Just clap your hands to the words I say, come on. Keep this one here for me and mine. I got the power to spit out and devour at the same time. I'll eat you up with a rhyme, but I let you slide cause you accidentally hopped on the wrong side. Now come on, that's suicide. Hypothetically speaking, okay, like say you didn't know what you were doing. You're new in town and you're looking around for another name to ruin. And it's me that you're pursuing? Well, I'll be damned. I might as well tell you who I am. I am the capital L-Y-T-E. Every shot and I'm the one you're mocking. Oh yes, I've been watching you like a fat on your back. Explain to see that you're a wonderful, but you can't be what you're not. So you better start living with what you got. This one here for me and my ears. DJ can't rock, but here is scratch. Now it's time to kick the rhyme out the batch. And you're the receiver, eager as a beaver. Time to convert the
What's up for me? It's written in stone, you can't erase it. Young thugs puffing and howling inside the basement. Full moon, skin turned blue, you can't abate it. I see you later. See my cadence and sloppy pronunciation. I couldn't see it, it's speaking into fruition. Until I did, see me, I'm a superstition. This is the end, beginning a new edition. Fluid tissue, death and repression issue. The kettle whistle and settle as I get better. We letting the effort get proven. Cause I don't do shit to fix what I gotta work on. My love off of the bad, I took my shirt off. My skin ripping and burning, pitch my face off. No, I couldn't play soft. This is baseball. Either you slugging or pitching to get your weight off. What you are, what you leave in the song. I'm touching on, let the keys hit the drums as I tumble on. What you are, what you leave in the song. Touching on, let the keys hit the drums as I tumble on.
Damn, I'm at 4 hyper already? That's something to think about. I don't really turn that one hyper that I get in the early start. It only really becomes another hyper. And not even, it becomes like part of a hyper. if I decide to spend it. If I don't, then I'm guaranteed to always have 5 hyper much earlier on this. Instead of like catching it down at like an awkward point in time, but I'm not really ever having an issue with getting 5 hypers by the time we're in scoring alley. Unless I died. And I'm only coming into this stage with 2 hypers and maybe a 3rd one dropping. So I feel like if I really cared about smoothing things out, I would wanna learn a way to combo the start of stage 2 where I'm intending to use hyper. And then save up 3 hyper for this section, and then attempt chaining the 2 sections. Although I don't know if even chaining the 2 sections would matter too much. How many Bs would there be in that? I mean, I'd want to play better than this, but... Fuck. Oh shit, the Chun-Li sample. Yo, welcome back. I'm thinking goofy things about where this route should go. Even that's not enough stall. Unts. Unts. Sometimes you just have the feeling of music inside of you. Sometimes you just want to unts really hard, you know? Oh, this one. I like this one. I think that this is a Mad Villain clip over this.
Now it makes sense. We do this for the rent. Build with intelligence, break your defense. No hesitation, time gets spent. Some fall victim, others get bent. Some recognize real niggas represent. I can't never stop till my heart is content. Putting in the work till I feel confident. Blast out thoughts in the womb basement.
Thank God. I'm starting to learn when I need to float up for that. Because we had to hyper early because we had to bomb. So we weren't ever gonna score as high in the scoring alley, but being able to get the full chain into the 2x multiplier and the last be there with single hyper, I've noticed that if I manage to do that, I floated back too far. If I manage to get that on it, then I'm focusing, give me a sec. If I've managed to get that whole multiplier and chain going, then I usually get enough for the 1-up, so worked out. Yay. Yes. Oh, fuck! That one came from the heart. Whoa. Oh, fuck. I either gotta let myself just float further to the left or the right there, but I can't sit in the middle. What was it? You can move or walk as you like, but don't wobble or something like that. Don't dither. That's hard to do. Let's go. A little more than I would like to use bomb-wise, but like I'm just happy I'm bombing. Stage 4. Alright, we still got 2 1-ups on the way. Although the score 1-up is quite a ways away. I would ideally want to be in like 42-ish million. So we're gonna be on these lives for a while. Luckily, stage 4 is pretty shot friendly. So we got nice backups for this stage, given that things have been a little rough and tumble. We are gonna have to hyper here or bomb. Once we get this one, and then we go up in here, and then drift over here. Oop. Ah, I think I was out of bombs. Was not feeling that situation. Okay, we have hyper, so we can go for quick kill here. So get this, so crisscross, and then up here. Back here. You can't go all the way to the left. The casing falls there more often. You have to like be on the right side of the left bay, but not too far right. And then if you do that juke through at that timing, you gotta sit there because we use the hyper invuln to go through the last wave safely. You can't use it to juke 2 things. Fuck, I don't even know if I can react to that. I'll have to save state practice that later. Not bedtime just yet.
I got 13:11, by the way.
Oh, well that puts the timer on this, doesn't it?
I don't know.
What time is it right now?
10 something.
Well then, I think that's gonna be the end of the stream. But thanks for hanging out, Ashley. It was fun.